Chapter 1 Into the Labyrinth. And so the wizard left the little witch to begin his journey to the magical island, in order to seek out the secrets of crafting a wizard heart. The way was a mysterious one, for it was hidden in the depths of a great labyrinth where only the most clever and cunning could make it through. Satchel of trinkets, satchel of gold, one to entrust, the other to hold. So went the riddle of the labyrinth's first test. A wizard must learn to trust, but to also be shrewd and discerning. The wizard heart would have made this easy, but without it the wizard had come to possess a trust and curiosity that bordered on self-sabotage. Still, he had to trust his instincts and figure out the puzzle. So, thinking as clearly as possible, the wizard divided up his things between two satchels. The first he filled with his prized tomes and mystical implements, those things which he had acquired or had been bestowed upon him in the line of wizardry. In the other he placed more mundane things, tunics, breeches, and the like. Thinking himself clever, he approached the great dais which dominated the center of the first room of trial. From above it a menacing stone face gazed downwards, eyes locked in a permanent scowl to judge any who would seek entry to the labyrinth. But as the wizard began to hoist his second satchel upon the dais, he heard the sound of some tiny thing clearing its throat. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," intoned a tiny voice. Looking around frantically, the wizard gazed into the far darkness of the room, and there he espied the slumped shape of some diminutive creature. Not knowing if it were friend, foe, or perhaps some aspect of the labyrinthine trial, the wizard placed his satchel upon the ground and approached the thing. As he did, the thing raised a great grisly face to meet him, one which affixed him with bulbous black eyes. Clearing its throat again, the grotesque little creature began to clap its hands in a shaky but steady rhythm. "Good trousers, pretty dresses, we all adore, but to call ourselves clothed we need something more. Hats and baubles forgotten, if we must leave fast, but never forgone, which is good at last. For you'd be ashamed to walk naked out in the street, yet you'll never get where you're going with broken feet." And with this final verse the thing began to emit a guttural chuckle which sent shivers down the wizard's spine. Still, there must be some meaning behind the thing's clumsy sing-songery, and so the wizard sat down to ponder. He knew the solution to the test was to pack one satchel with things he could entrust to another, but not so much that if that trust were betrayed he would be unduly hindered. This was the mark of a skilled wizard, for trust is a thing that should be closely guarded and given out only to a select few. A student of the arcane arts is a powerful asset to others, and to trust just anyone is to risk lending the power to evil ends. The wizard knew this all too well. However, he thought he had divided things up well. Clothing was mundane. As long as he kept his robe about him, all else could be lost and then replaced. The same could not be said for his implements, with which he could easily ensorcel any simple garment, repurposing it for magical ends. What was the meaning behind the thing's song? Was there one? Had this creature just deliberately stopped him in order to recite some piece of shoddily crafted verse? No, this was a labyrinth, where everything happens for a reason. The wizard bade the creature to repeat its song, a request it assented to with giddy gusto. He repeated the song a few times, each repetition being accompanied by even more excited clapping and whooping, and swinging of bony arms and gnarled legs. Each time the wizard listened closely, caught up in contemplating what magical thing kept his feet from being broken. Finally, lost in frustration, the wizard sat upon the ground, removed his shoes, and inspected his feet. There were no special charms, no sigils, no talismans. The only thing standing between the wizard and a pair of broken feet were the shoes that he now held in his hand. It was at this realization that a sheepish epiphany began to creep up on him. Opening the satchel he had been about to submit to the test, the wizard removed 3 pairs of shoes, one for traveling, one for entertaining, and one for particularly rigorous spell-casting, and stuffed them in the pockets of his robes. Believing himself ready, the wizard once again began to place the satchel upon the great dais, and hearing nothing but a breathy half-silence from the creature he let his grip loosen. Suddenly the eyes of the scowling face began to glow with a blinding red radiance. A miasma of ethereal nether began to form in its stone jaws, and with crackling sound and startling fury the satchel vanished. Once the magical light had faded, a cacophonous grinding heralded the slow opening of a stone door across the room. The wizard strode confidently through the newly opened passage, hoping he had indeed passed the test, and that he would be reunited with his garments upon reaching the magical island, If not, at least now he still had his shoes.